Hey, happy Monday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. Today is a holiday here in the United States. We stop and remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and we reflect on what he stood for, and that's why we are home today. That's why I'm home, because we didn't work. Most government offices, or all government offices, I should say, and schools and some businesses are closed, and and so we are grateful for his contribution, for what he did in the fight for civil rights and for so that people could have a better life, and that's why we are celebrating today his birthday. And so this is In the Raw, unscripted, unpracticed, unedited conversation. And we are in the middle of or actually getting towards the end of the Ten Commandments. And today, this is I believe, number 8. This is the 8th commandment. And it says, "You shall not steal." Don't steal. It's very to the point, right? And so this command forbids taking someone else's property or possessions without permission. And so we need to understand that part of the reason why God established these rules for the people of Israel is because when they were in captivity, they were in captivity for more than 400 years. They did not know what to do or how to conduct themselves. And so God, and these aren't just the only rules or laws that God gave. He gave over 600 laws to Moses. But these are 10 of the most important ones. And the Bible, mentions these specifically because they're very important. And so, as I was saying, the people of Israel were not used to doing things outside of their slavery, because they were told what to do always. For 400 years or over 400 years, they were told what to do. They didn't have, their own opinion or their own, will. And so, God is very specific in what they should be doing and what they shouldn't do. And one of them is, don't steal. I think that's very straightforward. I think that's something that we all understand. We shouldn't take somebody else's property without their permission. And so I know most likely we've all done it, and at one point in our lives, whether we were innocent at doing it when we were young or little kids, or sometimes we do it deliberately. And so, you might say, well, I don't practice that. I don't have that practice. And like I said, we don't do it deliberately, but, or sometimes we do. But, some of the examples that come to my mind is, if you work for an employer, if you're late, nobody knows you're stealing the time that you're getting paid because you're not working. Things like that, right? If you, if you take something, I'm trying to think of another example, but that's one of the most, common ones that we might do, or you take an extra time for your lunch, for your break, and you might say, that's not a big deal. Nobody's going to say anything. You're right. It's not one of those big things, but, if we're going to do things correctly, then, we need to think about this, right? And we need to be as correct as we can in the way we conduct ourselves, in our employment. Here's one that really, I think I've said this one before, and it does apply to stealing, I guess, because when you're stealing somebody else's space, and I see people that are very, how can I put this, very disconsiderate towards others. Very simple thing, like, for example, you go to a parking lot, people park, I've seen this before, people park in 2 spaces, right? they weren't paying attention. They maybe didn't do it on purpose. Maybe they did, and they're stealing somebody else's space, because they're not parking correctly, and they're taking somebody else's space that somebody else could use. Or when they shopping carts, they leave them in a parking stall, and then the next person can't come and park there, or because you're stealing their space. You're taking something that could belong to somebody else, and you might say, well, that's questionable, but there's different forms of theft. I think different forms of theft, and we need to stop and think about it when we are conducting ourselves. How am I stealing? How am I taking somebody else's property or somebody else's space, somebody else's possession, something that belongs to somebody else? You might say, well, the parking is public, it doesn't belong to anybody, right? But when you're parked there, it belongs to you, right? And how many people fight over parking spots, right? So it is something that we need to think about. And those are just a couple of practical examples, but there's many more that we can think of. Anyways, that's the eighth commandment: do not steal. Do not take something that doesn't belong to you. All right, well, I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.